Hi, I'm Larissa, and today we'll be talking about the color palette. I'm speaking on behalf of Andrew, Gabby, and Julie, and we're almost famous. Once you have opened Illustrator, you can open the color palette by going to Window and then Color.
That clip that you just saw was an excerpt from a student video from 2009. I've actually been working on flipped learning since 2003, where my students were creating learning content on PDF using InDesign, and they were working on beta softwares and documenting their experiments and building up a knowledge repository. Eventually, when I was given research money to build video blogging capacity, they went on to create videos like you just saw. So I'm not a stranger to flipped learning. I consider myself a pioneer in that field. And what it's allowed me to do on a personal and professional level is to take my personal expertise off the table. It's a radical departure in terms of how academics typically see their value add. Their mastery is their stock and trade, and they hold on to that fiercely. And letting go of that is something, it's a leap of faith. I've done it myself. I'd been ridiculed by my peers. My boss scarcely understood what it was I was trying to accomplish. Many felt like I was shooting myself in the foot. However, it seems that history would bear out that where I was trying to go with this was, in fact, hitting on something important. I believe that storytelling is perhaps the single most important attribute that a student in the digital age can have, simply because we're awash in imagery, sounds, YouTube videos, and so on and so forth, that it becomes incredibly important for us to be more cogent storytellers. We're now moving into the realm of virtual environments and immersive environments, which is going to take our storytelling capacity to new heights and present new challenges for the way in which we represent ourselves and our ideas. Storytelling is an essential part of it. In fact, I've even designed courses explicitly with storytelling in mind. I've used this to try and drive change at the academic level in all the various other academic silos, and it's not been easy. There's been a great deal of resistance. However, some of that resistance was fear of technology. And I can tell just from a personal level, even for someone who's been dealing in digital spaces for the last 35 plus years, diving into an environment like Adobe Premiere Pro is very intimidating, even for somebody who's comfortable in those environments. I liken it to trying to learn to fly a kite. The best way, somebody wants to learn to fly, perhaps the best place to start is taking them out into a field with a kite and experiencing flight in a very simple, easy, and accessible way. That's fun, and you get exercise. Whereas the wrong thing to do would be to sit them down in the cockpit of the space shuttle, where they would be overwhelmed by buzzers and lights and switches. It would well be beyond their capacity to understand, much less be effective and have a win in that kind of environment. So the secret is to start simple. And that's not been easy to do of late. I think Apple led the way in terms of iMovie, where video editing was concerned. And Premiere Pro, like Final Cut and Avid, were suites that were the domain of experts that dedicated their whole lives to storytelling through editing and so on. However, the greatest boon to storytelling for non-professionals has been the suite of mobile and web tools developed by Adobe, namely Spark Video. It's so simple and easy to use that it's free. And that's removed all barriers to entry. You don't need to be an expert in terms of workflows and systems. You don't even need to be an expert storyteller because it creates frameworks around which you can build your story. And they come canned with the system. They're platform agnostic, and so anyone, anywhere, anytime can gain access to these powerful storytelling tools. What I've been trying to work with my students and also with other faculty is showing them how they can use these simple storytelling platforms to create frameworks, basically a series of leading questions that will drive their students, and also I use it with other faculty, drive them to a particular region of thought, to have them consider a number of key questions. And, in my area, that just happens to be personal journeys as it relates to their chosen profession, that being art and design typically. But the applicability of it is broad. And so we could use those same storytelling vehicles in any number of situations, whether you're an English teacher, a physics or math teacher, and you can use these to reinvigorate student engagement with subjects that are often very, very dry. I see a huge amount of potential for it, and I'm a big advocate for it locally in my own college. And I do a fair bit of speaking to community groups, for nonprofits, as well as other schools, on how I'm using storytelling in my classroom. Anyway, it was a remarkable opportunity it always is, to take part in these Adobe edX things, and there were lessons learned along the way about the grammar of filmmaking for me. I learned a lot about myself and the fact that I talk too much. And the one thing that I take away from that is show, don't tell. And brevity is the soul of wit. So with that, I'll wrap it up now. And thanks again for this opportunity and for sharing your learning.